Hi, my name is Tiana McCall. I am the school social work / school-based mental health specialist with the State Board of Education. I'm really excited to give this presentation today about some emotion regulation strategies that can be used at the classroom level or one-on-one with students or in small groups. These are great strategies to teach to students to help them with their own emotion regulation. And these are also strategies that we can use as adults when we're working with kids to manage and regulate our own emotions. All of the strategies from in this presentation are pulled from the Coping Skills for Kids workbook that you can see in the bottom right corner of this slide. And it's a great resource if you're looking for additional strategies to use with kids. So let's go ahead and jump right in. So before engaging in helping a student with emotion regulation, it's important to remember a few things that will help in your work with students who are dysregulated. Relationship is key. Start with developing and building your relationship with the student before you begin suggesting things that they can do to manage their emotions. They're more likely to follow your suggestions when they have that relationship with you and they trust the suggestions that you might make for them. Second, it's really important to teach strategies to students when they are calm and when you are calm. When you try to engage in teaching new skills or strategies when a student is already escalated, they're less likely to engage in those strategies. So practicing and teaching before the escalation occurs is key as well. And the third, it can be helpful to teach and talk about some sort of cue or reminder to help students engage in these coping strategies when you see them beginning to escalate. So you can do this again when they are calm and we're teaching the different strategies and skills. Talk with the student to see what would be a good cue or a good reminder. It could be like pulling on your earlobe or some sort of hand signal or a special word between you two. So these are some things to consider before you engage in teaching these strategies or working with students on practicing these strategies. So we're going to learn a bunch of different coping strategies in this presentation. And it's really important when you're working with students to explain the benefits of each of these categories of skills to students, including what they do to help them. And as you're teaching these options, you can help them try them out. When working with students, you can kind of display these options in the different categories and let them pick and choose what sounds good to them. The more they have autonomy and choice over the strategies that they want to use for calming and de-escalation, the more willing they might be to practice them in the heat of the moment. So the strategies that we're going to cover in this presentation include the 4 that you can see on this slide. The 4 are calming, distracting, physical movement, and processing. So calming skills are designed to help with relaxation. Distraction skills are designed to distract, obviously, and to help keep attention on something else rather than the current stressor. Physical movement skills are designed to help rebalance energy. So there's kind of 2 different options. So some activities can help energize and some can help managing excess energy to kind of relax. And then the 4th category is processing, and these are designed to help work through thoughts and feelings about challenging situations. This last category might be difficult if somebody's in like the peak of their de-escalation. The part of their brain that helps them with processing is probably not online at that point. So you would want to save those processing coping skills for after a student has de-escalated and they're more able to process through what happened. And it would be ideal for a student to have a couple of coping strategies or skills within each of these categories that they can have as their go-to skills to practice when they're upset. So we're going to start with the calming skills. So like I mentioned before, these are designed to help with relaxation when we are faced with stressful or overwhelming situations. The top of this list is always going to be breathing, and this is always brought up because it works. Breathing is something that's built into our systems and we do it automatically, and it's with us everywhere we go. We don't have to remember to bring any sort of tools with us. We have it with us all the time. So the reason breathing works is because of some parts of our body that exist, and we're going to go over those two. So the first part is the autonomic nervous system, or ANS. And this is also known as the fight, flight, or freeze response. In this response, our body has physical changes, which might include your heart rate increasing, your pupils dilating, your muscles contracting, and your digestion stops. The purpose of this response is to protect you, to get you out of danger. You also have a parasympathetic nervous system, or PNS, and this is your rest and digest state. This is when your body is in a calm state, your saliva is increased again, your heart rate relaxes and drops, your muscles relax, and your pupils constrict. Breathing works because it brings us from the autonomic nervous system response, the fight, flight, or freeze response, back into our parasympathetic nervous system activating. It helps us get into that rest and digest state again. So deep breathing helps get more oxygen into your bloodstream, which opens your capillaries, which has that physical effect on your body to help you calm down and lower your stress. So it takes your body out of that autonomic nervous system response into the parasympathetic nervous system response. So there are a lot of different ways that you can teach kids how to breathe. Again, breathing, we're all doing it every day, but when we can be intentional and purposeful in our breathing, that is where we can have an impact on our stress response. So the options you see on the slide are just a bunch of different ways that you can teach kids to engage their breath. There's the pinwheel. This really forces kids to be intentional with their breath and to do it calmly, to cause the pinwheel to cycle. The same with bubbles. If you breathe too hard in a bubble wand, the bubbles don't come out. You really have to have a steady stream of breath to allow those bubbles to come out. Similar with the feather breathing, you can ask students to try to blow a feather in the air and to keep it floating. The square and the triangle and the star and the hand and the 8, the crazy 8 breathing, those are all strategies to engage. You can do some finger tracing on those shapes or on the hand to engage the body movements. It can also teach about inhales and exhales and the length for those inhales and exhales to make sure that you're getting the most out of the breath. The Hoberman sphere is that little circle down at the bottom with the hands holding it that contracts and expands as you pull it in and out. And that can be a great way to teach kids about what's happening in their lungs as they're breathing. It can also engage the body in other ways to help kind of distract as well. The little kids with the stuffed animals helps teach kids about inhaling with their belly, that deep belly breathing rather than just in their throat or in their chest. And then the little guys on the bottom is called the volcano breathing. This is another way to engage your body in movement while you're breathing. So these are just some great strategies to help kids practice that breathing strategy to help calm. Other ways to induce calming is to practice mindfulness meditation and yoga. This can include a variety of different movements. If you can see on the right-hand side of the screen, some different movements for kids to engage in mindful movement or yoga. Some other calming strategies might be listening. So you can see the little ear diagram, listening for sounds around you. You can begin with listening to sounds close to you and then slowly expand your hearing to be further and further away from you, and then bringing it back to what you hear inside your body. Mindful walking can be helpful. So noticing the sights around you, the sounds around you, the way your feet hit the ground, just engaging in all of your senses as you're walking. You can imagine your favorite place, which is represented in that image on the far right corner. So imagine imaginary place that you'd like to visit or a place that you have visited, but creating that image in your mind and trying to go there in your mind can be a great calming tool. And then lastly, the mindful taste. So you can do this with kids by offering them a small piece of fruit or a candy or a sucker, engaging their sense of taste and asking them to describe what they're tasting can be a great calming strategy as well. And then lastly, grounding activities. These include grounding just means bringing your attention back to the present moment. So all of these activities help bring you back to the present rather than focusing on the past or the future. So the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 grounding technique is where you can ask the student to tell you 5 things they can see, 4 things they can feel, 3 things they can hear, 2 things they can smell, and 1 thing they can taste. This activity can sometimes be a little bit tricky for littler kids, so you can simplify it and just do 3, 2, 1 rather than the 5. But this is a great way to get kids back into the present moment by being aware of their current surroundings. Similar to that is self-talking about the present, so describing what you can see around you or things you can feel around you. Mental techniques might include thinking of your favorite things, so thinking about your favorite food, what does it look like, smell like, taste. You can think of your favorite color. You can think about a variety of different colors, different animals that you really enjoy. What do they smell like? What do they feel like? What sounds do they make? You can think through all the days of the week, the months of the year. You can picture people you care about. You can say the alphabet slowly. You can try saying it backwards. You can remember the words to a song that you really love. Then physical techniques might include running water over your hands, carrying a small object in your pocket like a worry rock or a paper clip or a rubber band or something. You can touch things around you to engage your senses. You can make some movements like jumping up and down or doing stretches or yoga movements. You can make a fist and release it. This is similar to the progressive muscle relaxation we'll talk about next. You can clap and rub your hands together to generate energy between your hands and warmth. And you can even splash water on your face. Along with that, you could drink water that's listed below. That's another physical technique you can use. So progressive muscle relaxation is where you tense and release your muscles one by one. You can begin at the top of your body and go all the way down. You can guide students in this activity by asking them to tense and relax different muscles and guide them through that. So you can say, squeeze your back muscles and tighten them and then release them. And then squeeze your hands together and relax them. Another strategy is to count. So pick a number and count up to it and then count back down to 0. And then you can also trace a pattern. So you can see on the bottom right corner some different patterns that you could have students just trace with their finger or have them use a marker. But these are a lot of different activities that can help ground students and bring them back to the present moment. A lot of anxiety is often focused around worrying about the future, and a lot of depressive mood is related to worrying about the past. So when we can bring our attention back to the present moment, we can kind of get out of those 2 stress responses. All right, now I'm going to give you a few minutes to pause the video and choose one of these 3 activities to practice. So pause the video after you've chosen one of these activities and practice it for just a couple of minutes. So you can practice square breathing. You don't have to have this picture printed. You can just trace a square on whatever surface you are at. You can do the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 grounding activity where you do 5 things you can see, 4 things you can hear, 3 things you can smell, 2 things you can touch, and 1 thing you can taste. You can choose any of the senses for any of those numbers. Or the last one is mindful listening. So practice listening to what you can hear in the room, practice expanding your hearing out beyond you, and then bringing it back to what you can hear inside of yourself. So go ahead and pause the video, practice one of these activities for a couple of minutes, and then come on back. All right, I hope that practice was helpful for you. All right, the next category is distraction. And we talked about how this is a helpful tool to help distract from a current stressor and to help keep your attention on something other than what's worrying you or bothering you. These activities can include writing out a story. It could be imaginary. It could be a real story that happened. You could do word puzzles or crosswords, Sudokus. These are all ways to kind of get your mind off of whatever was happening onto something specific. You can do something kind for somebody else. You can read a book, clean your room or clean up the classroom, play with an animal, play some sort of game, watch a show or a movie, sort or organize something, get outside and get some fresh air and connect with the earth. These aren't activities that you can always do in a school setting, but these could be strategies that kids can adapt and use at home or at school. All right, the third category of coping strategies is physical movement. So these are designed to help with rebalancing your energy, like I mentioned before. And these can either energize you when you're in more of a depressed or like low mood, or if you're in a highly escalated mood and you have a lot of energy, these can be used to manage that excess energy. And these are broken into small and big physical movements. So some small physical movements include squeezing something. So you can see the picture of the stress ball. So you could squeeze something. It could be a stress ball, putty, clay, Play-Doh, sand. The picture right next to that is somebody shredding paper. So this is, again, another small physical movement that's allowing you to engage in repetitive motion. So you could shred computer paper, old worksheets, phone books, old notebooks, really any scrap paper you can get your hands on. You could pop the bubbles in bubble wrap if you have that on hand. Do something that keeps your hands busy, like fidget spinners or poppers. And the picture of the Jacob's ladder, it's kind of an old school example. I don't really see kids playing with those these days. You could also have them hold a small stone and rub it between their fingers or pass it between their hands. They could shuffle cards, make something like knitting or quilting or crocheting, and a variety of other fidget things that are beneficial to kind of keep your hands busy. And then the last one is to move different parts of your body, small parts of your body, like rolling your ankles, like in the picture, rolling your shoulders, shrugging your shoulders up and down, putting your feet on the ground and pushing them down using your legs. Massage your temples, flex and point your feet like in the picture, tug on your earlobes like you can see in the top picture. All of these are different ways to move small parts of your body. These are strategies that are typically helpful for for engaging and waking up your body a little bit, getting your body moving and waking up when you have more of that kind of depressed mood. All right, so here's your chance to practice. So go ahead and choose one of these three strategies so you can find some paper to tear it. If you're going to do this activity, try to do it in slow, repetitive movements. And then the stress ball, if you have something soft and squishy, you can squeeze. It could be a pillow or a blanket. Or if you have a stress ball or some Play-Doh or something, go ahead and grab that and squeeze it. Try to do it in repetitive movements as well. Or you can choose a body part to move. So you can move, flex, and point your feet. Or like I mentioned, you can tug on your earlobes or rub your hands together. But choose some sort, or shrug your shoulders or wiggle your shoulders. Do something to start kind of moving your body. Go ahead and pause the video and practice this for a couple of minutes. All right, I hope that was helpful for you. So now we'll talk about the big physical movements. So these involve more of your body, and these can be helpful with releasing some of that excess energy that you might have. So these might include going for a walk, some sort of exercise, jumping jacks, jumping up and down, running, dancing. Some sort of obstacle course is fun for kids, requires a little bit more thought and setup and planning, but can be a great way to kind of have more of a mental challenge with body movement. You can swing on a swing, balance on a Bosu ball, like the little boy in the middle of the slide. That requires a lot of concentration and calming your body enough to focus on balancing. Punching safe surfaces like punching bags or pillows or a stuffed animal, that can get out a lot of excess energy as well. Some other big physical movements might include jump roping, jumping on a trampoline, yoga, skipping, tug of war, various stretches, riding a bicycle, riding a scooter, anything that involves more of your full body. All right, and the last category is processing. So like I mentioned before, these skills and strategies are designed to help work through thoughts and feelings about challenging situations. It's really important to note that these skills shouldn't be used at the height of somebody's dysregulation, and they should really be used after the calming has happened, and they can kind of, their prefrontal cortex that helps them process is back online, and they're able to kind of think through what happened and plan for the future. So there are two categories of processing skills. The first one is identifying thoughts and feelings, and the second one is expressing those thoughts and feelings. So we really want to focus on the skill of being able to identify them before we ask them to express them. If we're asking kids to express thoughts and feelings before they have the language to do that, that can just be more frustrating. So this can include making a feelings book, so identifying various feelings and what causes those feelings to occur. Could be helpful. You can think about understanding and working through the intensity of feeling. So how big of a feeling is this? Is this something that is really, really big, or is it smaller? That can be done through a feelings thermometer. You can also think about and talk about feelings as colors, and that can be a great way for students to self-identify, like I'm feeling really blue, or I'm feeling really red, or I'm feeling green. And that can give you some clues to how they're feeling and also help them identify where they're feeling it. Speaking of that, you can also have them identify where they feel different feelings in their bodies, and you can give them a chart where they can kind of draw on the chart of their body and help you see where they're feeling it in their body, and they can explain, like they might feel anger in their ears or worry in their stomach. Those can help them identify when those feelings are coming on, because they'll probably have those clues happening in their body before their brain catches up and they kind of know cognitively what their feelings are. You can help them identify some of their triggers. What are some situations or circumstances or things that people might say that cause big feelings to come up? When they know what those triggers are, they're more able to kind of use these coping strategies to deploy these coping strategies when they know what those triggers are. You can also ask them to track their stress, to kind of help them understand various situations and circumstances when they might be feeling certain feelings. So again, these are all strategies to help with identifying the thoughts and feelings that they might have. And the last one is to be able to express them. So once they've been able to identify and name them, it's really important to get those thoughts and feelings out in the form of expression. That can be done in creative ways like journaling or drawing or painting, singing. All of these are creative outlets for getting them out. They can also talk with somebody that they trust. They can listen to music, creating some sort of playlist that describes how they feel and sharing that with somebody. I really love the worry box idea, where they can write down their worries or stressors and put them in a box to be contained. And then they can share some of those worries later with somebody that they trust. Journaling prompts that might be helpful would include, like, in a perfect world, I'd want this and this and this to happen. Or they can write down what's bothering them, rip it up and throw it away. They can write I wish statements. That's kind of like, in a perfect world, I wish this would happen, or I wish they would do this. You can write I statements. I feel frustrated when this happened, or I feel worried, or I feel angry. They can write about what they can control and what they can't control. This can be really helpful when kids feel like they have no autonomy and control over their circumstances, and it can bring them back into like what sort of autonomy they do have. And then the last one good thing. This can really help with seeing good, even in stressful and challenging circumstances. Helping them think through one good thing each day can be a great journal prompt. All right, so let's go ahead and do one more pause and practice. So you can choose one of these 3 practices to try out over the next couple minutes. The first one is write down something that's bothering you and then rip it up and throw it away. The next one is draw out a thermometer and identify different feelings along your thermometer and maybe circumstances that might make you feel that way. And the last one is identifying where you feel things in your body. So you can draw a little stick figure and write down, kind of identify where you feel some of your core feelings in your body. So go ahead and pause, practice this for a couple of minutes. All right, I hope that activity was helpful as well. Thank you so much for participating in this training. It was really great presenting and sharing some coping strategies for you that you can try to introduce with some of your students and even with yourself. So if you have any questions, feel free to contact me. Again, my name is Tiana McCall. I am the school social work / school-based mental health specialist with the Utah State Board of Education. Thank you so much.